Have you always used helium in all of the inflatables, or have you experimented with anything else like hydrogen?
No, we've always used helium. And the argument comes up that hydrogen is a lot cheaper. It actually isn't. The price of the gas is not the operational cost. If you're carrying, 20 tanks of helium or hydrogen in your shop, well, there's another permit for that. And you can get that permit, but it's cost of the permit. Your insurance goes up because you're more carrying the gas of a welder and not a small welding shop. You're carrying the insurance of an industrial welding shop with all the flammable gases in. Your driver that's driving the truck carrying them now has to carry the extra license. There's a cost for that. There's a training cost that he has to go through with the state to get that license. Your car insurance cost goes up. Then the equipment that you have to use to safely use it goes up. I mean, it's not extreme or anything, but it is a more expensive valve that you want to have. No flashback. It can be safely handled, but it is more complex handled. There is more safety procedures. Small errors that you can do get away in helium. You drop a wrench by the valve and no one runs screaming in the direction. But if you add up the actual cost of using hydrogen, it's about 3 times the cost of using helium. Now when we start using very large amounts, for dark sky station and ascender, then of course it's clearly hydrogen is the only way to go. We'll be using more hydrogen than all the helium on the planet if we had to use pure helium systems. So our plan is for the ground-based systems, the ground to altitude. It will be helium systems. And then hydrogen systems for the things above 100,000 feet. Because it's very hard. It can happen, but it's very difficult when there's no oxygen up there, or very little oxygen to get things to burn, even hydrogen. And the great hydrogen shortage that always gets talked about, it's not actually a shortage of molecules. A few years ago when the price was tanking and the companies were going out of business, they were able to restrict production of hydrogen. They even talking about venting, or helium, venting the helium reserve as a price support to keep these companies in business. And they did a lot of those things. And then the prices rose. And then the Gulf Wars came along that had a huge liquid hydrogen need for sensors on predators and all these things. So then they had a real shortage right after the artificial shortage that was voted on by Congress as a support for the industry. And that double whammy created this shortage we're in now that we're slowly starting to crawl out from. But the industry is kind of in chaos. And following helium politics is just mind-boggling. And I don't even know all the players and how that all works. But there's new Nigerian sites, and the fear is they're going to start dumping cheap hydrogen on the market, and then there'll be so much helium, that the U.S. producers will go out of business anyway. So that is part of the risk in the balloon industry, is watching the whole madness of helium supply. So buy early, buy often. Make sure you have the helium in your shop for the mission that you're going to fly 6 months from now.
Well, what is the most important thing that you want people to know about JP Aerospace right now?
That we're actually doing it. Regardless whether people think that the whole airship to orbit idea is crazy, if PongSats are silly, that's actually okay. We got some guys thinking that we're the craziest people on the planet, and they tell us that every time they send us payloads to fly. and we think that's wonderful. But we're actually flying. Every year we're out there 5 or 6 times. Last year we did 17 missions, which means we were tired all last year. But we're actually doing the deed. We're actually out there testing, flying. If something is going to be impossible, we're going to be the first ones to know it. But we're actually doing it.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to add or talk about?
That we're actually an all-volunteer organization. We have a small paid staff and then a large volunteer staff, so these are people in the community. Our whole premise when we started is to make a space program that people can be part of, which is why we're doing the PongSats. That's fundamentally part of our mission. That's as important as the Airship to Orbit project. Because we don't want to wait until we have a spaceship and then invite people to join us. If we're really going to do it, if we're really going to walk the walk, then it has to be part of us the entire way. So we want everybody to fly with us. If you want to fly, squeeze your business card up, put it on a PongSat, do that. You know, just jump in with us and fly with us. Buy a hat, buy a T-shirt, you know, all that kind of stuff too.